All right, time is 7 o'clock, so let us be on time as usual. Ma'am has already joined, and once again, I welcome all of you for the day two of our research methodology session. And we are very pleased to have ma'am to take forward the session. And today is the second and final day. So if you have any questions, please feel free, as ma'am said, to ask ma'am. Ma'am, kindly please take over the session.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much, sir. Very good evening to sir, to you, and to all the participants here. I hope you found yesterday's session useful. We will take it forward, but just a 2 minute pause to just ask you all if you have any doubts, something that I needed to clarify from the previous session, so I can take it forward. Any doubts, please? Any doubts? Can I take it forward? Hello, don't hesitate. You can always answer, or at least in the chat box. If you find it difficult to, speak out, you can always use the chat box and answer. Well, I'll take it forward. Let's not waste time because there's lots for us to complete in today's session. As mentioned earlier, these are the contents of day two. We'll be talking and discussing about data collection and how you analyze the data and how you report the data. And then the methods of data collection, data analysis and interpretation, and introduction to statistical tools. And then the hypothesis testing and data presentation, ethical considerations in research, report writing. So that is where we'll have the plagiarism test and maybe the referencing style as well, as mentioned yesterday. So in case I miss out on any topic, you can please, raise that. And then in case I've not covered anything, please let me know. In case it has been missed out, I can always include it in the session and we can complete it. So taking it forward, yesterday we discussed about this, taking it forward from there. I spoke about two methods of data collection. That is, you can use the primary data and collection method of collecting data, and the second is the secondary method. And I gave some examples as well. I'm not getting into too much in depth because, as I said, we have much to cover. So what is the criteria so in case of a primary data, you know that the data will be right because you would have identified the respondents, because in the last class we discussed about how important it is for us to get the right kind of respondent, because if you get the wrong respondent, or if I spoke about errors. I hope you remember that, you can recollect that. So if we are not able, if we end up with errors, then the efforts that we put in the process of research becomes futile. The outcome is also turns out to be wrong. So therefore, it is very important for us to evaluate and identify the right kind of person as a respondent. This is in the primary data. But in the secondary data, how do you identify that the secondary? See, you can do your PhD also without using primary data. You can use only secondary data and still, go do your research. So how do you evaluate the secondary data? Because again, the secondary data should carry authentic information, because what you're doing in secondary data is you're looking at a study conducted, similar study that you've identified a research gap. So on that topic, you're trying to identify areas where that particular study has been done across the globe. And then you're trying to identify how that, taking all these studies, some 10, 20, 100, depends on what kind of study you're doing, whether it's a PhD or whether it's a student research. Based on that, you're identifying the number of studies, and then you're trying to identify similarities. Maybe the study done in North India and South India gives the same answer, or a study done in Korea and the study done in India also is giving a same answer or a different answer. So that will make you understand that this particular topic, or this, say for example, electric vehicles. So we see that there is a trend right now because of the kind of awareness being created, so on and so forth, about electric vehicle. So if we say that in India it is catching up, maybe the same study in some other country might not give the same kind of answer. So then you will be able to say, if you study a few more, you will be able to authentically say that, see, I've read so much of literature about this, and I can vouch for it. I can justify and say that the electric vehicle is only popular in India, not in this XYZ country, because of dash 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 reason. Okay, so now to give that kind of an answer, the secondary data that you're collecting should be authentic, or it should carry some weightage. So how do you identify that? That is what I'm discussing. So one is the specifications, whatever is mentioned in that study, it should look like it is carrying some worth. The contents of that article should feel very accurate and authentic. It should be current. Current means to the present era, and not done somewhere in 2000 or 1995 or 80 or something like that, because it's not wrong to go and study something which is maybe a decade ago or 3 decades ago or 4 decades ago. It's not wrong, but when you are making a study, you can use it for identifying how things have changed over the years, or whether it has been the same throughout the years. But when you are doing the study, it's more important that you concentrate on present studies. Present studies will help you identify or give you inputs which you can implement for the present situation. So hence it should be currently useful and not outdated. Okay, you should identify whether it's currently useful or is it outdated. If it's outdated, don't use that. That's how you choose. That's what I mentioned. And then the objective of that study, you have to identify that, and also the objective of your study. See whether it is matching. So then you know that that study is related. And the nature of the study, the kind of nature, and the dependability. Can I depend on the contents of this study? That is it. Now I'll go back to this same thing, and I'll just give you an example. Now, something which all of you are quite familiar with as students, as I understand all of you are students. Let me take the example of a textbook. On what basis will you choose a textbook? You will not just pick up a book and then say it's mentioned, like supposing it says strategic brand management, or logistics and supply chain. So when you see this mentioned on the book, will you just pick it up? No, you will not. I mean, pick it up, or I should rather say, will you purchase it, or will you go through it? So when you see the title, it doesn't mean that it is going to fulfill all your requirements. What you'll do is you will check the contents to see whether the index, you'll check the contents to see whether it matches with the, it has all the items that you require based on the syllabus that you're studying. If you have this logistics and supply chain management as a subject, but the topics that you see in this particular book, you have only 1 or 2 topics that matches with your syllabus, you're not going to buy that book. Why? Because you don't want to buy 3-4 books. You want to buy one book which will help you in the exams or help you understand the subject better. So you look for something which will have all the content, carry all the contents of your syllabus, isn't it? Then you find that book is authentic. It is valuable. Next, how will you say that the book is authentic? So you look for good publishers. So if it is from a good publisher, then you say, the book really will carry a lot of weightage, right? So this is how you identify. Now coming back to, so similarly, you're linking this to literature review. So in case of literature review, now there's so much of data that is being uploaded every minute. Okay, so even your research paper, your research study might also be uploaded into the internet. Your seniors projects might be uploaded, and then it's not just your university, there's so many across the country. Forget about the world, across the country. So there's so much of information that is there on the internet. So when you click on a topic, you want to study more about it, you might get authentic journals, or you might get authentic studies, and you may also get studies done by students. Now, I don't say what students do is wrong, or I don't say that what faculties do is correct. I'm not saying that. What I'm trying to say is, sometimes we find people just copying something and then putting it up and uploading it somewhere by mistake. Sometimes it happens. You just upload some data which is not, you're not bothered much. You just upload it, and you know that you have not done it authentically. You copied it from somewhere, you just changed the name, and then you've uploaded it. Now I want to read it, and then I find this article. Now, where if you have actually gone through good articles, when you see this article, when I see this article, I'll understand, okay, this doesn't consist of, it looks like a student article, so I can reject it. I can understand that it is not going to give me, I cannot depend on that. Okay, that is the meaning. Okay, so you have to evaluate the secondary data, only then you will be able to identify and say whether it is good, or you can include it in your study. Okay, now this is the point that I touched upon, and I guess this was the last slide that I used before we ended yesterday's session. So these are 6 types of empirical tools to gather information. Now, coming back to the primary, because in secondary you don't have any other options. Like you're looking, the thing is, you have so much of data, you should know how to capture the right kind of data, and that is the thing that you're going to summarize and then investigate into, and then come out with your conclusion. But when it comes to primary, there's different ways in which you can go for primary. So these are what I've mentioned here. As you can see in this slide, this is image that I've taken, and you can see even the I'm mentioning this purposefully. As you can see, this is the source, who have created this, and I've given credit to them. Why have I done it? As we go further, I'll be talking about plagiarism. So that is where this, keep that in mind. So the 6 types of empirical tools means for your primary study, what are the tools that you can use? One is survey method, one is the focus group. I'm not touching upon it further because I've already discussed this. Experimentation, interviews, field observation, and existing data, right? Now you're collecting the data. After collecting the data, now this is the primary study I told you. So I just put this because I've also covered it, but still just touching upon it again. The reason is because there should be a connect between what I spoke yesterday and what we are, because we're taking the same topic forward. So I told you about observation. See, now as you can see here, I've mentioned clearly that observation includes both seeing and also hearing. Hearing is also a kind of observation. So gestures, that is also, so that is what you're seeing. When somebody is talking, the way they are talking, they are not having eye contact when they are speaking, then you know that he or she is not giving you the right answer, or they're hiding the truth from you. So that is also observation, and based on which you make a note of all that is data, or everything is data. And this is the reason why, let me put a small incident which I think all of you will relate to. When we go to these malls, or sometimes these exhibitions, they set up exhibitions in different places, in huge grounds and all that. These are these mobile exhibitions. So when you visit these stalls, you go around all the stall, and as you're sometimes in the entry itself, or sometimes the exit, they'll give you a form and they'll tell you it's a lucky dip, or in the ticket itself you might find the lucky dip. They'll say it will be mentioned as lucky dip. They'll tell you enter your name and address, and then you can just put it in the box. There's no cost, nothing. In case you are a winner, you will be given a free trip to Maldives Islands, or something like that, or to Singapore, or something that makes you Dubai. There are all these things that makes you feel very, or it need not be only travel. Sometimes it might even be items like a refrigerator, 2-door refrigerator, or a automatic washing machine, or a scooter, or a car, or so blah blah. I'm sure all of you would have experienced this. So what we do is, we feel we have already bought the ticket and there's nothing to lose. Why should we miss out a chance? What if I get a car? What if I win a scooter? What if I win a trip, or something like that? So what we do is, we enter details and then we put it into the that box where they have kept now, and we forget about it. Then after 2 weeks or something, you'll get a call saying that you are a winner, and you need to do this, or you need to do that, or they just collect data, asking to find out whether it is authentic, and so on and so forth. And many times these cold calls end up making it into a business call. Now this in fact, the the information that we put in is so valuable for the marketer, is so very valuable to the company. For us, it is just filling of a form. And they, why they ask us, give us all these kind of gimmicks and things are said, because if they just say that it is you might win or something, we might not even, or they don't say win, sorry, they would just say please enter your details. We might give a wrong number, or we may not give the actual name, and so on. But when it is something to do with a gold chain, a car, 2-door refrigerator, or something like that, something a little expensive, immediately we are very clear, particular about giving the right name, the right phone number, and so on. And each of this information, okay, your name in the sense gender, the number of visitors who visited, they get a count, they get the numbers. When they get our phone numbers, they get a lot of other details about us through that. And everything is data, and data is very, very expensive. We give it out free, but then they sell it for a cost. I'm sure all of you are aware of it. Okay, so when we are collecting information, we have to make sure that it is the correct information. That's the reason their gimmick is a reward, so that we give the correct information. Otherwise, collecting of any information would be futile, or it will be a waste of time and energy. Okay, so this is what exactly I have just put in this slide, like how you can collect the primary data in the correct manner by through interviews. So when you have a direct interview, you also have an option to see that person and hear that person, see his gestures, see his facial expressions when he's answering questions. You can even when he frowns, then you know that he hasn't understood, he or she has not understood the question, so you can repeat it and make them understand in a language that they can see. All these are the benefits of meeting a person face to face. Okay, so that's what I meant. And of course, it is not necessary that you should have a face-to-face conversation only to collect data. You can still collect authentic data using Google Forms, where you're not seeing the person at all, or by taking a printout of a questionnaire and then sharing, asking your friends to help you to share it, your family to share it, and then you're collecting it back from them. Here the concept is that the type of questions, the type of language that you use, and the method that you adopt to frame those questions matters a lot. So if you have you understand the proper method of framing a questionnaire, then it's not necessary that you have to meet that person in meet somebody in person to collect the information. You can get it directly, correct information, even if you don't meet them directly. And the secondary data, I'm just skipping this slide because I already told you about how secondary data are collected. So the census reports and all that, I've already covered it yesterday. So I'm not, I have more slides today. So that's the reason I'm just, taking it forward. And I also spoke about this specifications of evaluating secondary data. So specification, the methodology, when you see a secondary data, you just go through the study, because as a student also, when you're collecting, you have to do literature survey. So when you're doing that, ensure that the methodology, what kind of methodology is used in the study to collect the data. Then you see how much of accuracy it is carrying out. So when you read a few, you'll understand, and that will help you to identify whether the journal is good or not. Okay, so this is the reason you have different kinds of journals. You have a Q1 journal, you have a Q2 journal, you have a Q3 journal. Q1 and all are very top class journals, and even to publish there takes a lot of effort and time. So those data, those articles that is published in Q1 journals and Q2 journals will definitely be very authentic. Okay, so and in those journals, because in ordinary, somebody has muted me. Uh, okay. In the Q1 journal, as I said, in the ordinary journals, you may have 15 articles or 20 articles, but in Q1 journals, sometimes it's just 2 or 3 articles, that way. So they are very, very authentic. Meaning, authentic meaning, what I mean to say is the data, you can be sure that it is very accurate. And then the data, you should ensure that the literature that you are choosing is not outdated. It is something very relevant, and the objective is for which the data has been collected, whether it matches, and the content of the data, and how you can depend on it, how dependable is that data when compared to others. See, for example, earlier, when now we have a lot of news channels. In fact, there are more news channels than the commercial channels. People tend to be more conscious about the happenings across, rather than the serials. There is a trend for people to, this is the present trend. People are more conscious about what is happening around them when compared to the television serials and stories and so on. I don't say that people are not interested, they are, but they are equally showing a lot of importance to the news. So you have more of news channels, as you can observe. Now, earlier, we had very few news channels, and when the new, the cable system of before the dish antennas could come, we had the cable system. Okay, so when the cable system came in, we had so many channels, and of which there were very few news channels. So supposing there's something important you wanted to know, we would all switch on to Doordarshan, because we felt that the information given by Doordarshan will be authentic. Or we would try, if it is the radio, it used to be the BBC channel. It's because we feel at that time it was like these channels can, whatever they say will be accurate. Like somebody says something, we'll check that to see whether it is actually true or not. Okay, so this is what I meant by dependability. Right. So even the articles that you read, so if you understand that it has been published by a student, I don't say students don't do good. They come up with very, I have seen, I've observed students coming up with very good art, topics for study, excellent topics for study, which though we have so much of experience, we would not have thought about it. So I don't. I don't attempt to criticize anyone, but what I mean to say is we tend to, some students tend to take it very lightly, and they would have copied something and then they would have uploaded that. And if you are reading a lot of literature, you will be able to identify these few, which is not actually the right one. So you can reject. That's the meaning. That's the meaning of dependability. And yeah. See, now coming to questionnaire. So you understand about the importance of how do you identify or how do you choose the method of collecting data. Now coming to a questionnaire. Questionnaire is a tool which you use to collect data. Okay, so how do you come up with a question? How do you design a questionnaire? It's important to design a questionnaire, right? So how do you design a questionnaire? Sorry, can you see this? Is it visible? I don't know if, yeah. So how do you design a questionnaire? I think this is more clear. If I can make it a little more. Okay, I think this is more clearer. Okay. See, firstly, you determine the type of information that you require. What kind of information do you require? So then you understand what kind of people you're going to require, meaning who will be your respondents. Okay, based on the study, I've given you some quite a bit of information about how you can choose or what kind of people you need to choose to make them the right respondent. So first you need to determine, only then you will be able to identify who your respondents will be. Okay, so determine the type of information that you require. Now supposing I'm doing a study on identifying the requirement of water bottles, okay, whether it's a metal water bottle, sorry, or or a plastic water bottle. I just want to know the preference, so based on which I want to start manufacturing water bottles. So when I say plastic, I mean authentic ones, like, not the plastics are all harmful, they say. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, like, maybe you use and throw it out, or you're using it for sorry, you're using good quality plastic where you can store water. So you want to find out what is the mindset of your customers, and if many of them say plastic is lighter and it is convenient, and then you decide to start manufacturing plastic water bottles. Or if you get respondents who majorly say that they prefer a metal one, then you decide to go for a metal one. Now this is the type of information that you require. So for this, you have to create a questionnaire. So what type of questions should you have here? So definitely, one thing is you need to start with a demographic profile. It's not necessary also that you start with, there's no hard and fast rule that you should start with the demographic profile. But I personally feel that if you start with a demographic profile, it makes it, you can create a kind of a link between the respondent and that questionnaire, and then they can take it forward. The reason being, when you talk about demographic profile, you know what is demographic profile, right? It's about information about our age, gender, income, educational qualifications, these kind of things, cultural background, religion, all these things come under demographic profile. Now, supposing in this case, I don't need religion and all. What I need to know is what's your age group, and are you a student, your personal information. And I want someone who can, basically I'm looking for, so it can be judgmental sampling, because I don't want someone who is not using water bottles at all. So supposing it's a housewife, a homemaker, they might decide based on what their maybe their husbands or their children who are going out to work or going to college, school, they look at the convenience. They may not look at whether it is useful or not. They look at convenience. Supposing it's a small kid, they would not want to give them a metal, they know that the metal water bottle is good, but they look at convenience, because the child might drop it, it might hurt the, if it falls on the leg, foot, it might hurt the child, and it might have a dent. So instead, a plastic water bottle is lighter and it will not affect. So probably they will look at it from that point of view, not from your objective. What was your objective? To know whether they prefer this or that based on the health concern. Okay. So the questions start with a demographic profile, and then slowly you start asking them about what kind of containers do you use to store water? How do you carry water to your office or to your college, or you send it to children's in their children's lunch bag. See, this is how you ask questions, and then you collect the information. So firstly, as you can see the process, designing the questionnaire, you determine the type of information required. Then you create a questionnaire components, and then you physically prepare the questions. Okay, that is your Google form, because now very few people use the regular printed questionnaire until you're going to a rural place where there is no internet facility. In such case, probably you carry that. And then you have the internal evaluation. Internal evaluation is like, once you prepare a questionnaire, it is advisable that you do a pilot study, meaning you don't read it, because I am preparing it. I might not find a fault with it, but when I give it to a third person and they read it and they'll ask you questions, why did you do this? What was the meaning of this question? Or I didn't understand this question. So this helps you to reframe your questionnaire. So once that is done, we call this as pilot testing. So once the pilot testing is done, there's any changes, you can make the changes. Or if you feel that there are no changes and people were able to easily understand the questions and you got the answers that you are looking for, then you can start sharing it across to collect all the information that you require. Okay, so this is how you design a questionnaire. Next, you can see this questionnaires. Yeah, what I mentioned here is questionnaire can be of consists of questions of two types. Okay, one is a close-ended question, or it could be open-ended. What's an open-ended question? Where you're asking the respondent to pen down his opinion or her opinion, like why do you like Suzuki bikes, or why do you like a Maruti car? And then they'll mention there are a lot of service stations across. If they're writing it in sentence form, it's a open-ended question. What's a closed-ended question? A closed-ended question is where you have options, maybe multiple choices or tick boxes. Okay, so if they're using that, then that is a closed-ended form. So questionnaires usually will have these two types. Again, until and unless required, it is preferable to have more of close-ended questions, because it is easy for you to analyze. Because when it's an open-ended question, it would take more time for you to understand with what mindset the respondent has responded to your question. That is one. Secondly, many a time, I think even new people also would have done that. When somebody has shared a question, and if it has an open-ended one, you just flip, you pass that and go to the next one, or you don't answer that at all. Very few people have the patience to sit and write. So that is the second drawback. So try your best, until and unless you know that you can get them to write, try to ensure that you have a close-ended question. Okay, that's a suggestion from my part. Now, if you look at the questionnaire, you can see this is the questionnaire. Okay, so it starts like this. A small brief, it should always start like that. It should start with a brief introduction about yourself and why you are pursuing this particular research, how it's going to help you. You don't have to write a long story. It's just that I'm a student of pursuing MBA, or if you're a research scholar, then you mention that you're a research scholar and you're pursuing your research on this particular topic, and I request your inputs to proceed in my study, and you assure them that it will be confidential. Okay, and you thank them also for their time. So this is how you start. It's a brief, because anybody gives you, what would you do if somebody just gave you a questionnaire? The first question will be, what is this? Why should I fill this, right? So instead of you asking that, if that person asking the question, if you already put that on the questionnaire, it saves a lot of time. So this, I'm not talking about a regular the traditional form of questionnaire. I'm talking about a Google form also. It's the same thing. Only thing is that is online, and this is and it can reach out to much more number of people when compared to a regular traditional one. Then comes, so that's the introductory part. The second part, or the main part of the question, starts. So you've introduced yourself, you told them why you're doing this study or what type of study you're doing, and you have requested them and you thank them as well. Once that part is over, the next is your demographic profile. So some people prefer to put this demographic profile at the end. Okay, but I personally feel, so I'm not enforcing anything on you. I'm just giving you my thoughts on it. That's all. So you can either put it in the beginning or you can put it at the end. So if it is at the reason is because if it is at the beginning, if they find, see, these are the answers that they know. I know my age, I know my name, I know my gender, I know my income, I know from where I come from. So it's easy for me to answer. And then see, slowly you're pulling them into the, instead of directly asking them questions on your topic, it would be better to do this. That's what I suggested. That's all. Okay, so as you can see here also, you can see, I'll just, and make it a little, can you see? So here you can see survey questionnaire, dear respondent, and etc. And then you see the name, age. So again, name is optional because you're not going to use you can't make it as a drop box. It has to be open-ended, right? You can't have all the names put there so that they can just stick. So that has to obviously be there. Then second is the age. Now again, here the age and your date of birth, okay, your income level. I spoke about this yesterday as well. There's some people who are very sensitive to such data, and they may not give you the authentic data, or they may not give you the correct data. So the right way, but you require the age because you want to know which age group majority of them gave this kind of answer and so on. So instead of putting it in this way, this is not the correct way always. If it is a survey you're doing among your friends, then you can give that. Not a problem. Okay, because you just want to know, there'll be a age gap of maybe 3-4 years here and there, your seniors, your juniors, and all that. So there may be a couple of years here and there, but so that won't be a problem about age. But when you take it forward to a group of respondents whom you have identified across, they may be people who are not very comfortable about disclosing their income or their background. Sometimes there are some people are not comfortable even revealing the religion as well. So you should be very careful in asking such questions. You can avoid if it is not required. Okay, so these come under demographic profile, and then you slowly go into now supposing I want to know whether they are using online marketing platforms. So don't directly ask which platform do you prefer. First ask them whether they are familiar with online platforms, and then you ask how often do you keep checking these online platforms, and then you ask them that do you enjoy using online platforms. See, like that, slowly, and then ask questions. So before you frame the question, you can never have, at one go, you cannot have the right kind of question. It doesn't happen. It is you'll have many additions to do. You have to edit and come up with the right answer, because once you do it, you might feel that and then I also told you about the pilot study. So when you do the pilot study, you might feel that you have missed out some questions, or somebody tells you meant something, but they couldn't understand what you actually meant. So then you have to rephrase that, or make the wordings a little more simpler for people to understand. Sometimes you may have to write it in the local language as well. So if you're writing it in Marathi, maybe because you know that the respondents can answer you correctly in Marathi rather than in English, then it is better that you put it in that language. That's how it is. Okay. So here I have showed you what is a question which is closed-ended question. See, it's like this. For example, how satisfied are you with our selection of products? Very satisfied, satisfied, neutral, dissatisfied, very dissatisfied. So okay, so this is a closed-ended question. Okay, here if it is mentioned as any comments and they put a box here, then it is open-ended. So if you give a question like this, I'm sure that majority will answer this, but very few will answer this. And when it comes to comments, each one will come up with different kind of comments: good, bad, some just like that, and you will not know to what extent they feel it is good or why did they feel it is good, and that will lead to some more confusion. So it's always better to give choices. I feel it makes it easier, especially for young researchers to do that, because it makes it easier for analysis purposes. And the second one, as you can see, this block, the Q1B. Here you can see this question. Please tell us why you have given this satisfaction rating for membership. So here they have to explain, just like, any comments. It's like that. Or it could be another question is, what should the company do to improve what? Dash, dash, dash. So here again, they have to write. So these are all open-ended questions. As I said, until and unless you require it, you should not be taking it forward. So these type of questions can be either binary. Binary means you just have two options: yes or no, true or false, agree, disagree. Okay, all this comes under binary types of questions. Or it could be a ranking form of questions. What a ranking form of question? For example, you given your questionnaire, you mention of you want to know which is the most popular bathing bar that people use. You are doing a study, let us say it's a freelance study, and you want to check which is the most popular bathing bar that people in that area are using. So you would put in a list, like Lifebuoy Plus, then Lux, then there's so many soaps like Hammam, and then you have liquid soap as well, Palmolive, Palmolive, and so many. Okay, you put a list of all this and you ask them to rank according to their choice of interest. So some would say sandal soap, Santur, first is Santur, and that blah blah blah, the second, third, something. Someone else would put something else. Someone else would say Lux is one, and so on. So ranking will help you to identify. Sometimes your study might require something like that, so you want to rank. It's not only soap, it could be even maybe vehicle. According to your choice, which is the best vehicle, two-wheeler that you prefer, anything. Okay, it depends on your study. So their ranking might be required. See, again, what I'm trying to say is, it doesn't mean that if I'm saying binary, all your questions should be binary. If I say ranking, all your questions, no. A questionnaire can consist of all these type of questions. This is what I'm trying to share. Next is a multiple choice. That is, I can choose more than one answers. So what's a multiple choice? What are the different kinds of perfumes you use? So you put in 2-3 brands, and some would have used all the brands, so they tick. This is multiple choice. And what's a checklist? It's similar to a multiple choice, but then you're making a checklist, like, you're checking out that, like, I've done this, have you done all these things? So you're something like that. So there, have you seen the movies of all these actors? So you checklist and say the actors which you have watched on television or at a movie theater or whatever. There, that's a checklist. Okay. And yeah, I've already told you this. How do you design a questionnaire? And so you have decided what type of questions you're going to put. Ensure, first write down, I would suggest this. You give a brief about yourself. That's not the difficult part. The difficult or the challenging part is giving the right kind of questions. So what you should do is identify your objective firstly. Okay, choose your objective very carefully. How do you choose your objective? Yesterday I had mentioned that you choose it based on the literature that you have reviewed, and then you have identified some gap, and then you decide to do a study to fill that particular gap. So those might be your objectives. So that those objectives, based on those objectives, like for example, objectives always start with the sentence to examine, to study, to analyze. This is how you the sentence is framed for an objective. So if I say to observe the opinion of customers towards instant coffee, or rather to identify which is the most popular drink that students prefer in the canteen. So these are the objectives that you have. So in such case, your questions, that your objectives become very clear, that you want to know what kind of soft drinks that the students prefer to purchase from the college canteen. So since that is your objective, your questions should match that. So what will be the questions for that? What are the different kinds of, if you are interviewing or your questionnaire to the canteen person, you can have two studies, right? One is from the respondents. One will be the canteen person who's selling the drinks, because he is meeting the customers directly. That's the share the students directly. And the second are the students who are visiting the canteen. To the canteen owner, you're asking questions like what kind of cool drinks that the students prefer. Do they buy the whole bottle, or do they buy one bottle and then they share it among themselves? And what is preferred by the girls? What is preferred by the boys? Or when do they buy? Usually, is it during a party, birthday party or something? You can ask all those questions to the seller, that is the canteen owner. And to the students, you're asking them questions like when do you buy this, why do you prefer this, which is the one you choose, and you give an option. And they may give, you can even ask question like, why don't you not prefer anything else, why do you all prefer only one particular drink? And then you can have an open-ended question there, or you can have a close-ended. So an open-ended, most of them will not answer, I said. So close-ended would be and I also mentioned one more thing yesterday, that if a questionnaire is not filled, then that gets void, right? So you have to ensure that everything is filled. So you may give an option saying no other cool drink is available, or other cool drinks are expensive, or this is something we all like, we don't mind paying more, so that's why we are buying it. You give those options. So when they tick on that option, you will get to know which is the reason. So when you're getting that to get that actual answer, what you need to do is you have to ensure that the questionnaire is framed correct. So how do I frame this question? How do I identify what question to ask? This is based on the objectives that I've set for my study. How do I get the objectives? By studying literature review, or which will help me to identify the research gap, that which will help me to identify the areas where I have to take this study forward. Okay, so this is how the questionnaires are designed. Now, next is the wordings. Don't try to use very sophisticated wording. Just because I'm an MBA, I have to show that I am really, I know my English very well. So I put in all those, fancy words. Don't do that. You will not be able to get the right answer, because there may be people who do not understand the meaning. There may be very few who will ask you directly, and sometimes you may not have the questionnaire. If it's a Google form and you tell your parents, your friends to share it, they would have shared it to some XYZ third, fourth level person. That means, much further, whom you don't even know. And that person, when he is reading your questionnaire, he doesn't know whom to contact and find out or get clarity. So he'll just answer something just to, somebody has requested him, so he's trying to do it, help out. So therefore, try to ensure, see, it speaks on behalf of you. It's like an interview, it's doing the interview on behalf of you. So keep that in mind and use simple words which the respondent will be able to answer. Another thing is, if there are too many fancy words, a person might not be interested to fill the questionnaire also. Okay, or either they just blindly put yes, no, or whatever, or they just tick in some answer which is not correct, or another problem is they might not take it seriously at all, they just leave it off. So both ways it is detrimental to the researcher. So ensure that it is wordings are very simple and easy to understand and framed well. Put in as many. My suggestion is, if you have an objective, what are all the questions that you can ask? There may be 50 questions. You may come up with 50 questions. You may come up with 10 questions. Make a note of all those questions and then slowly read them. When you start analyzing them, you will be able to understand that, okay, these two questions look similar, only the wordings are different. So you can remove that. That way you can come up, frame it very properly, and then you can make the final questionnaire. The next is pre-testing the questionnaire. I told you about pilot study. So you have to, give it among your people close by, known or unknown, whatever. Just give it to them. See what kind of responses they're giving. If they are giving the responses that you are looking forward to, that means your questionnaire is framed well and they have understood. Then you can start giving it to most of the people you want, the identified respondents. Okay. So the characteristics of a questionnaire, how should it be? Firstly, it must keep the respondent interested throughout. Secondly, the utility of data should be captured. Effectiveness in producing data. When you give a questionnaire, it should be effective to collect the data, not like, leaving out 2 questions. I said the questionnaire goes to waste, or they can't understand, so they don't answer it at all. No, that should not happen. The participant's ability to answer accurately. So if you given simple questions, simple words, sometimes, as I said, even you can even change the language. A questionnaire need not be only in English. You're studying in English, right? But you can frame a question in the local language if it requires data to be collected from the localites who may be comfortable using the local language rather than English. Okay, you can do your study in English, but you can collect the data that way also. That is fine, because the objective is to collect the right kind of data, the correct data, or accurate data. Next one is the respondent's willingness to answer accurately. And lastly, effect of external events. What are external events? Now, supposing, yesterday I also told you about how one of my student was doing a study on the BDs. I told you, the BD workers. And when she went to these places and started, to the places where these women were, actually, most of them are women. They are men also, but majority are women. So when she went to speak to them, they were not very willing to, answer back. They were like, are you from the government? They were asking her questions like that. And why do you want to know what we want to do with our future? And how do you know that tobacco is getting banned? They were asking questions like that rather than she asking questions to collect the data. So effect of external events, meaning these people are not well versed with the outside world. They don't come to the mainstream, most of them, because they come from the lower strata of society. They are insecure. Many of them go for household work, and the ones who are not going are the ones who are sitting at, maybe the family is very conservative. They don't let women study higher. Usually in these lower strata, they don't allow the girls to go for higher education and all. The moment the girl is matured, she is married off. They still follow that old concept. It's only in the modern world where parents are educated, they encourage their daughters or their sons to go for higher education and so on. So effect of external events is also there. Now, supposing we hear, for example, okay, it's just an example, we hear that some Naxalites are attacking people in Mysore. So the moment we hear this, every time we see someone in some weird clothes or something like that, immediately, if somebody is asking us a question, like you're walking on the street and somebody comes to you in a, usually, these Naxalites, we see them in uniform types. This is what I've observed. I've not seen them personally, but what I've observed on television, I see them wearing some kind of a uniform, right? They have their own uniforms, like, they usually tend to wear that, I think. So supposing somebody like that comes and asks me, probably that person might be a very authentic person. Maybe he's working as a security guard somewhere, and he comes and asks me, can you show me the way to this particular office? He shows me an address. I might not answer him, because I might feel, I just read in the news, since a week, every day the news says there are Naxalites going around in Mysore. Okay, there are no Naxalites in Mysore, just an example. So effects of external events will also restrict the respondent from answering. So that is another thing that we need to be careful. So now coming to measurement, you have collected the data, and it will help us. So what's the measurement? I told you we are always using qualitative data. We are social scientists. What is a social scientist? We are studying about human nature. We are studying. So when I say consumer behavior, it's human nature. Employee productivity is human nature. I'm talking about stress level. It's human nature, right? So all these things come under human nature. So what do we do to assess or convert the qualitative data into quantitative data? So that is where we come up with the term measurement. So if you can see what I've mentioned here, measurement is the assignment of numbers, objects to represent amounts or degrees or property of or behavior of a person. I think it is not very clear. Yeah, is it clear now? Please answer. Okay, so measurement is the assignment. I just make it a little more bigger. Yeah. Measurement is the assignment of numbers to objects to represent amounts or degrees of a property or behavior of a person. Measurement helps to convert qualitative data to quantitative data. Now, I'll just try and see if I can do some, I can draw something here and, okay. Now, supposing, I do not know if I can write correctly here. I'll just try. Now, supposing I need a thicker pen. Now, supposing I'm using, I just take responses from you. Simple one. Let us say there are three specializations: HR. Yeah, it's difficult. Marketing and finance. It's a little difficult. Please bear with me. So for HR, I ask all the students in the class. I'm talking about the first semester, okay, because they newly joined. So I ask which are the subjects that you want to choose. So there is one person called Ankita. She'll say something HR. Then there is Anand who will say marketing. Then another person also says marketing. Then the third person says something. So like this, I calculate, right? I hope you understand. This is a simple way of it. So totally, I get to know that there are 70 who prefer HR. There is 15 who prefer marketing, and there is 12 who prefer finance. Okay. How did I get to know this? The question, what kind of questions I would have asked? Which, right? If it is only one question, simple question, which specialization do you wish to pursue? So I would put one question asking that, and then under that there'll be an option of HR, marketing, finance, correct? When I do this, there would have been this person, Ankita. I said Ankita would have answered for HR. She would have ticked. And if it is a tick box, right, it's not multiple choice. So Ankita would have done that. Pooja would have put marketing, and then you have Anand for marketing, and then you have I'll read out the names here only. So Ritesh says finance, then Aditya says finance. So this way I get. So what kind of answers are they giving? Yes or no, right? I prefer. Do you prefer HR? or marketing or finance or HR I'm putting. So it means I'm saying yes. So this yes, no, agree, disagree, all these things are qualitative in nature. Qualitative in nature. They are not quantitative. So what did I do? Just now, what you saw here, I have converted qualitative data to quantitative. Quantitative is measurable. Qualitative is not measurable. Now supposing I look at a person and say, see, this girl looks very beautiful, or this boy is very handsome. Someone else might say, how can he be so handsome? I don't find he's handsome. I don't know why Reena says he's handsome, or why does Reena feel this girl is beautiful? She doesn't look, she's just an ordinary girl. For me, I find that she is beautiful, but for you it may not be very beautiful, or for me it is beautiful, you, for you it is very, very beautiful, right? So it changes from person to person. One more example. Now you go have a cup of coffee in a cafe or somewhere, and you see that the coffee is too hot, whereas someone else will feel, no, no, this temperature is just right for me. Okay, just a minute, I'll just shut the door till this sound. Yeah, sorry. So I was talking about drinking a cup of coffee. So a person might find that the coffee is just right, whereas another person might find that the coffee is too hot for him to drink. And that could, this is qualitative in nature. So if I say I'm satisfied, I watched a movie, I see that I say, yeah, the movie is good, but someone might say that the same movie is excellent, and there may be another person who says it is average. So all this comes under qualitative in nature. So when it is qualitative, how do I measure it? I can measure it only when I can convert it into, make it quantitative in nature. So how do I make it quantitative is what I showed you just now. So when you have these numbers here, can you see this? I have numbers. So now I can, now in this, if I had draw a graph, okay, if this is HR, sorry, please bear with me. This is marketing and this is finance. Okay. So now here I said there are 70 who prefer HR. So if it is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever, no, it goes beyond. So I can say that this is market HR. This is, okay, it is less, sorry. 15. So if it is, this is 10, then it has to be somewhere here. Okay. And then for finance, we have 12. Okay, this is just for demonstration purpose, to make you understand. Now, how do I interpret this? How do I interpret this? I can say that majority of the students, general, simple interpretation, majority of the students prefer HR. Now, if you're looking at it from the analytics point of view, you will want to identify why they choose HR when there are so many options in marketing and finance. Why so many of them are choosing? So they could be reasons like maybe they are influenced. Somebody has told them that there are a lot of job opportunities in HR, and that's the reason why majority of them have gone there. That is one. Secondly, you may get an answer saying that HR is easy to clear the exams. So that is the reason they have taken. Or they can be options like, I want to become a HR because I want to start a company that is into the recruitment process, and I feel that a degree in HR will help me, and that's why I've taken. There can be so many options. Just a simple interpretation says that majority of the students in this particular university prefer HR. Okay. Now, how did I get to know? I just got an S no answer. S no, S no, that way. And then I collected all of that. I converted it into qualitative, into quantitative, and then I was able to visualize. Okay, and then come up with the answer. So I just go back. Yeah, thank God. Because if I put it as save, it's not going back again. Oh, I'll have this problem. Okay, fine. Next, I'm going to the measurement scales. What are measurement scales? Let me go. Yeah. There are 4 types of scales. These scales are called as you can see on the screen. One is a nominal scale, an ordinal scale, an interval scale, and ratio scale. Now I'm going in a little bit in depth because this is what was mentioned in the syllabus that was shared to me. Hence, I'm going into each one. Okay. So now, what is a nominal scale? So it is not when you use variables which are not in a particular order, like type of companies or sectors. So industry sectors, you have the petroleum sector, the automobile sector, these all supposing manufacturing sector, you say textile, then cement, these are all coming under production products, and the manufacturing sector under that. So you cannot say cement is the first, and then textile comes second, and manufacturing of automobiles is third. No, all of them are equally important. So such kind of variables, we put it in the nominal scale. Okay. The second one here is mentioned as ordinal scale. So what is an ordinal scale? Order. You can think of that in that way. So what's a ordinal scale? Something that comes in an order, like the previous question I mentioned. Do you like ice cream? Very much. Cannot say. If I put things like that, then it is in an order. I'm putting it in a particular order. Highly satisfied, satisfied, neutral, dissatisfied, highly dissatisfied. It's an order. Okay. So ordinal scale, when you put it in that way, it's called an ordinal scale. And the next is mentioned as interval scale. So this interval is always having a gap, equal gap between two variables. Those kind of numerical variables, if you have it in a gap, then that is called as an interval scale. For example, income level, age band, all these things come under interval scale. Like, age band 20 to 25, 26 to 30, 31 to 35. So that's the interval, equal 5 interval. It could also be for income, like 1 lakh to 5 lakhs, then 5 lakh 1 to 10 lakhs, 10 lakh 1, something like that. All that, depending on your study, of course. It need not be 5 5. It could be even 1 lakh to 1 lakh 999, then 2 lakh to 299. That also fine. So this is interval scale. And what is a ratio scale? So a ratio scale is always starts from 0. A ratio 1:2, 1:5. Okay, it starts from 0 to show the level between two variables. Okay, the ratio between two variables. So, and it starts from a common point, 0. So that is when you're doing that, you use a ratio scale. And oh, I have to put my this one on. Charging my laptop. Okay. Now coming to the next one. This is the reliability of a scale. How do you decide that your scale is reliable? So when you're doing research, you use these two methods. One is known as the internal consistency method, or the Cronbach alpha coefficient. I think yesterday I spoke to one of the audience here, and I understand that she's doing her 4th semester. She said she's completed her project study. So probably you will know that you would have done a Cronbach alpha coefficient test to show that it is that there is consistency in your scale. Or you can use the split half method, where you use the Gutman split half test method. Now here, I'm not getting into the formula. I'm not getting into because we have shortage of time, but I'm just trying to give you all this information. It's not very rocket science or something. It's very simple. You can do it. There are also, I've seen websites where you can just give in the data and it will tell you whether it is consistent or not. Okay, so there's no need to worry about all those things. The next is, since we are talking about social sciences, all of us would require to do attitude rating scales. So what is this attitude rating? It could be a simple attitude rating. It could be like, binomial, like yes or no, your like, dislike, these kind of things can be a simple attitude scale. Next could be a category scale. So these are different scales. I just go to it a little quickly. Summated rating methods like the Likert scale. Likert is generally used by most of us. And then, Likert is something like, usually will be in odd numbers. So just remember that. Like, it will be like highly satisfied, neither satisfied nor dissatisfied, or neutral, then dissatisfied and highly dissatisfied. Did you see 5 scales there? So usually Likert will have an odd number, and I understand the maximum is 13. So I spoke about 5, so they have split it to 13 to get the exact mindset of the respondent. So that's how it is. I haven't used any of the 13 levels, maybe 7 and all, but not. I've not gone to that huge one. Then the next is semantic. Semantic differential is, you have highly positive and highly negative, and you're asking people to identify between. Say something like, on a scale to 1 to 10, 1 being the least and 7 being the highest, how do you rate this workshop? Now, supposing you put it as 5 or 7, then I know it is an average. That is a semantic differential. 1 is least, minus and plus, that way. So numerical scales, you understand, then constant sum scale, then staple scale, and the graphic rating scales. These are just, theoretical in nature, what I'm showing. See, now I'm giving you the exact what you need to understand. This is called as the Likert scale. See, can you see the 5 sections? I'll just try to make it a little bigger so that you can understand. See, you can see this. The scale is, the attitude scale is strongly agree, neither agree or disagree, and strongly disagree. You saw that? So these are check boxes that you're going to use. Okay. So the question is, I would like to be treated as an individual by my bank, by my college, whatever. So it is strongly agree, or I feel agree, whatever the respondent will answer. So this is called as a Likert scale. Okay, usually it will have an odd number. Now that's easy to identify, that's why. And I have some Likert scale examples just in case you people are working on that, because I wasn't sure the kind of audience I'm getting. Based on, I felt when it said student, I thought you have this subject and you are just going to start doing your project. So that is the reason I included the slides based on that. So if it's on agreement, then the kind of scale, the attitude scale that you will use, the terms that you will use would be strongly agree, neutral, disagree, or strongly disagree. If it is something to do with frequency, how frequently do you visit the malls? How frequently do you purchase clothes on the internet platform, through the internet platform? Then it is very frequently, occasionally, rarely, or never. Okay, then you use those kind of scales. If it is on importance, how important is it for you to exercise? So somebody would say extremely important, or very important, or moderately important, slightly important, or not important at all. So this is importance. And if it is on interest, based on interest, what made you what does marketing management meet to you. So then say very interested, very interesting, somewhat interesting. I'm just changing the word, okay, because to make it grammatically correct. So very interesting, marketing is somewhat interesting, or it is neutral, neither interesting nor I'm neither interested nor disinterested, or somewhat uninteresting, or very, very uninteresting. So I just gave this, as I told you, considering that you must be doing your project. But if you've completed your project, please don't stop doing research, because companies prefer people who are good in doing these kind of stuff, and making reports. All this carries a lot of weightage. If you know how to do it, all these will definitely help you. Because I don't mean to say that you have to sit and do everything. You can work smartly. You have artificial intelligence also to help you, but then do it in the right way. It doesn't mean that you just copy paste it. You should know how to interpret, because we are into the see, they say that we are not anymore in industry 4.0. We have crossed that, and they say that we have already started in industry 6.0. They say, we have jumped from 4 to 6. We just touched 5, and then we jumped into 6. See, we are into metaverse, and we are into so many such things, which is sometimes when you read the kind of evolvement in technology, sometimes it is very baffling. Sometimes it is scary as well, if you think of how is it going to be in future. So you can use all that, and even for your analysis, you can if you know how to use technology, that can help you to do. But where do you require human beings to make the proper interpretation? Because when you're using AI, as of now, it cannot think logically. Okay, until you put in that logic programming into it, it cannot do as you can think. Say, for example, you're walking and the tree falls, you find a tree fallen, you will walk across, you won't walk straight there, right? But if it is a robot or something like that, it will just stop there. It will never know what to do. See, that's the difference between. And then most importantly, we have empathy, which a machine might not have. So you need to make use of that. So this is where if you have more of research capabilities, these kind of things can help you. And we need to be identify what type of skills are required for us to ensure that we find good placements, because that's the reason you're doing all these studies, right? Yeah. Now, coming to the measurement process, how do you go about it? So you develop a research question. This is what we did in the last class, yesterday's class. Then you plan your research design. I'm sure you've understood that. You're not answering, responding to me. So I trust that you have understood. Okay, so plan the research design. We discussed about research design. And then you decide two more things. One is the kind of measurements that you're going to use. Okay, whether the kind of Likert scale or whatever, what we decided just now, semantic scale maybe. Okay, and the sampling technique that you're going to use. Based on that together, you're collecting the data. Once after you collect the data, you process the data. So the previous slide where I explained about students who prefer specialization, what did we do? What was my research design? What was my research design? My research design was to identify what kind of specializations students prefer. So then the measurement I used was maybe a binary system, okay, yes or no. And then the sampling technique was judgmental, because I wanted only students of first semester to answer. Based on that, I collected data. What was the data? It was like 70 people said this, and that's the data that we collected. What I told you, fictitious, of course. And then I processed. When I processed it, I found that there were majority who preferred HR, because they felt that there are more options, job opportunities for HR. Well, again, this is not true, okay? Just an example to a study. So this is what I processed. Once I processed, I analyzed and interpret. So now what is the interpretation that I can do? I hope I'm able to link and I'm able to make you understand. So how do I link this? I got the data saying that majority are preferring HR. So what should a college do? Just sit back and tell all the faculty members who are teaching marketing and finance, since there are less number of students, we don't need many of you. It's okay if we have only one faculty, all of you can leave. Do you do that? No, you don't do it, because you first try to understand why there is so much of inclination towards the HR, because all the three are very crucial for an organization. All HR, marketing, finance, they are interlinked. HR can't be without marketing and finance. Finance cannot be without marketing and HR. Okay, and marketing cannot be without the other two. It's like that. Okay. So how come there are so many? So you have to come up with a strategy to, what is that strategy now? It's not like, manipulating the students and telling them, see, I'll give you a job, you come over to marketing or you come over to finance. What are you doing? You're trying to give some justified reasons to students and tell them there are equal opportunities for HR, marketing, and finance. And if you do this, only then you will get a job in HR. It's not just having a degree that you're getting a job. It's based on the skill that you have, because that is what companies are looking for. Nobody's looking at a straight jacket degree. So you explain that. When you orient students, there'll be many who would think twice before taking up or choosing, meaning they will choose based on their mindset rather than what their friends tell them, or the general tendency. Maybe at that particular time there's a lot of jobs in HR, but by the time you finish your 2 years, by the time you finish those 4 semesters and go, maybe the demand for HR might come down. So that might affect your decision, your career also, right? It is a difficult proposition. After taking up the specialization, you understand that it is not going to help you, right? So what you have to do, this analysis will help you. So you understand, since I've done that, I'll be able to identify majority what they have taken, and then decide on what strategy I should use, or what kind of. So I can also do one more thing. Since I find that majority of them are preferring HR, I might come out with specific courses in HR, like HR analytics, or a diploma course on human resource accounting. Human resource accounting does not come under directly under HR, but it will help in identifying, though it is a part of finance. It will help you to financial management. It will help you to identify the productivity or the return on employee investment, to maybe branch wise or something. You can do that study. So if I come up with since most of them prefer HR, I might come up with specializations courses in HR, so that the HR students are much more benefited. So this is the analysis and interpretation that we can do. Okay, I hope you are getting this. This is how it is done. This is gone to the yeah, I finished this. Okay, I'll just take one more slide and then I think we can take a break. Okay, so next is classification. Now I classified the data which I showed you into HR, marketing, and finance. What is the benefit of classification? Since I gave you this example, I think it's very easy for you to say. By classification, I'm able to condense this huge data. I have met around, say, I said 70, 80, 90, around 95, right? According to the data which I mentioned. So I collected data from 95 students, first semester students. So when I classified them, I was able to put them as so many like HR, those like marketing, these people like finance. I'm able to classify. Secondly, it makes it easy for tabulation, right? I tabulated it and showed it to you, general tabulation. It also helps to identify and study the relationship between the data. See, more people like this, or what makes people like, or whatever, the relationship. And it also helps in easy comparison, especially when there is, see, that's the reason. One more thing I would add, learning Tableau is good because it is a visualization tool, and Power BI as well. These are visualization tools basically, so that will help. In case of Excel, you go for Excel is always good, because you can work on it even offline. And there also you have both visualization as well, not only calculation but visualization as well. So keep that in mind. I'll finish one more slide and then I think we can have a break. So once you collect the data, the next is you're going to analyze the data. How do you analyze the data? You edit it. I told you, you identify who said what, you put it into different groups, you edit it. Something like you go to the vegetable market and you have only one bag, you put all the vegetables into that bag. And then when you come home, what do? You segregate them according to their nature, isn't it? You put it in different containers. You first segregate it and then you put it in respective containers. So editing, coding, classification, tabulation. Then you use a statistical analysis of data. Statistical analysis, depending on the kind of study, your objective, you're doing the statistical analysis. It could be a chi-square test, it could be a correlation test or a regression test, or it could be an ANOVA that you're using. Okay, this is statistical analysis of data. Then you interpret that data. What does that data tell you? What is it telling you? So based on which you are making a decision for the company. And then you summarize it. So this is data analysis. So I'll stop here for 10 minutes. It is 8:25. So 8:35, can we come back? Please answer. Or shall I
Yes, ma'am.
continue? Okay, okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. We'll join at come back at 8:35. Okay. Thank you. I can see some names. Aditya, are you there? Or Viraj? Are you there? There's Apurva, Ashwini, Atharva, Chaitali. One of my colleague has a daughter's name is Chaitali. Nice name. Very musical, like, very nice. And then Dhanshri Chowdhury, Gayatri. Are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. How do you find the session? Are you finding it useful?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you
Finding
want
it
any?
useful.
Your voice is breaking. I'm not able to hear you clearly. Okay. I think we
Uh,
can start now. Yes? Telling me
yes, ma'am.
something?
Start.
Okay. So now I think we'll continue with the session. We were talking about data analysis. Now I just add some more points to data analysis. I'm not doing that to you, but I'm just giving you this information so that if you feel happy and happy in the sense that you find it a little inquisitive, you can take it forward. There's a lot of resources available, and you can become a data scientist, meaning a data analyst also. Let's see what the MBAs are required to do is, see, the software companies require the MBAs who have data analytics skills, or in strategic management. Since you're in the fourth sem, I'm sure you would have completed with this subject on strategic management. Strategic management is very important. You have a lot of models there, you study a lot of models which the software developers would not know. They come up with software programs and applications. So to make sure that the applications for companies work, they require the knowledge of all these things, like the models, your BCG matrix, or your Maslow's theory, or whatever. They have so many other theories. So Porter's five force model, all these things. So when you give them that input, they use that to create the software. So that is where the MBAs are required. That's just sharing that. Okay, now coming to I was just talking about data analysis. We are collecting the data. We did a small analysis, right? A simple analysis where we took the specialization, and then we found one specialization having more number of students enrolling, and for the others less. So if you identify why they are preferring that, or maybe the subject is very easy, so that is the reason everybody is preferring HR, then the faculty of marketing and finance can try to improvise their way of approach to make it more interesting, so that they'll have equal number of students, something like that. So this is the outcome of the data that we have collected. Now going to the next, editing data. What is the meaning of data editing? Now, when we went to the questionnaire, I'll just go back to the questionnaire, okay, so that I'll be able to just, you saw that questionnaire, so that is the reason. I think this is the questionnaire. Yes. So if you look into this questionnaire, just make it a little more visible. Okay. Now, if you look at this questionnaire, you can see, if you look into the first part of the questionnaire, you can see this name, and it's mentioned as optional, age, your year level, gender, college course, whatever. Now, when I'm doing an analysis, I'm collecting as much information that I require, because I can't go back again and again to these people. I might not get them, or maybe they may not be in the mood to, now they're being very happy and accommodative to give me the answer. But sometimes if I go back to them again, maybe they may not be as cordial. So what I do is when I meet them, I'm trying to make the maximum out of it and collect as much information as possible. So when I'm doing the analysis, I have enough of data which I can use. I cannot say I have asked the name. I have not asked the name because I felt it's not required. It's mentioned as optional, right? So I didn't take the name. But then as I answer the question, when I'm going through the question, there is a, let us say, an open-ended question where the person has given very good points and I want to call them back. And I've not taken their phone number also. Because I do not know how to, they didn't want to share it, or I felt if I mention phone number, many people might feel it can be misused, so they don't write it. So I didn't mention, but I don't know the name. But at least if I had mentioned name, probably I would have asked somebody and somehow tried to identify who's at, because I know where I gave the questionnaire. So I know the answer, the questions must have been answered by somebody from this circle of friends. So from there, I'm collecting, I can try to get the, identify the respondent and meet that person to find out more, collect more data. Okay. So this is editing. I collect enough of data and from that I decide what I want and what I do not want. Okay, this is what we call as editing. So you should not edit it initially in your questionnaire itself. Now until and unless you feel like, now for example, let us go back to that example where I chose the specialization HR, marketing, finance. There it's not necessary for me to have the name at all. I don't want the name. I just want to get data from this class of students of 60 or 120. I want to know how many of them prefer HR, how many prefer marketing and finance. I am not interested in the name. So I am, even if I take their names mentioned with their USN number on the Google form, that is not required. I edit it. What I require is only that the data where they mentioned what specialization they want, because I'm more interested in that. Okay, so this is basically what we call as editing. Okay, coming back. I think, okay, so where was I? Much further. Yeah, so this is what editing means. So now, for example, I've written a questionnaire also. Questionnaire that was meant to be entered by respondents who are about 25 years of age, okay, are answered by some respondents who are below 25 years of age. So you edit it. You don't take it at all. You don't consider that. Respondent mentioned that he was born in 2021. The respondent, you want a respondent who's 25 years old, and by mistake he's mentioned that he's born, you ask the age, year of birth, and he mentions it as 2021. So again, you edit it. Edited means you don't change it. I mean, you know that you can what's his this one, and you can take it accordingly. Respondent mentions that he has car insurance, but he does not own a car, meaning he knows about insurance, but do you own a car? He says no. But then if you ask which insurance policy have you chosen, he mentions Echo or something like that. So that is where editing happens. Okay, so that is one thing that, so even questionnaires you need to go through. This is what I'm trying to express. Now this is how data analysis happens. The analysis of data can be divided into these two things, that is process of data analysis and the methods of data analysis. When you're talking about what is this process? Process involves, so what is analysis of data? Collection of all the whole data. You've collected all the data. I've gone to all the students. I've collected information whether they like which based on their choice of specialization. Okay, that's the data. Now I have to analyze the data. To analyze the data, I'm using two ways. One is I process the data. That is, I edit it, I code it, I classify, I tabulate it. So this is what we did just now, right? That bar diagram, everything all encompassing. It is the process of analyzing the data. The second is the method of data analysis. How am I going to analyze it? Maybe I use some kind of a statistical tool to help me analyze the data. When I use the statistical tool, it gives more validity to the decisions that I'm making. It gives more validity, because I want to know whether there's a correlation between job requirements and the choice of specialization. If I do a correlation, and if it is very close to 1, I think you understand, in correlation the value is 1. So if any, when you do a calculation which is very close to 1, it means it is highly correlated, meaning that job requirements will decide on the type of specialization the students choose. But if I get a negative answer, the answer is not close to 1, it is much further than 1. In that case, it means that the job requirements is not at all related to the choice of specialization. Then what could be, we can decipher, or we can conclude that the choice of specialization is based on the subject is easy, it is simple to pass, or you don't have to put in too much of efforts and you can score more marks. You can decide that way. So it gives you an authentic way of deciding, giving a judgment, giving deciding on the kind of decisions that need to be taken, the strategies that need to be adopted. All that can happen when you do the methods of data analysis. The data analysis could be central tendency, that is the standard deviation, mean, average, either that or the standard deviation, or measures of dispersion, or ANOVA, or this time series analysis, the t-test, the z-test, all that, or regression, correlation, chi-square test, all these things. Okay, I'm not able to get into the calculation because I don't see that is mentioned, otherwise I would have showed you that. And again again, time constraint is also there. As I said, if you feel a little adventurous and you feel that, yeah, I can take this forward, please don't hesitate, try it out. Because you are youngsters and there are lots and lots of opportunities out there. Try, you can use YouTube as well. You can find a lot of information pertaining to analytics, or how you collect data. There are a lot of people who do it as from home, a lot of people, and they are really making quite a decent amount of money from this. Okay, now coming to what is coding. See, this is a very simple, this is again an image. It is not what I have drawn. It's an image which I felt will help you identify it very easily. So supposing I've taken data about customer service. Okay, when I take this data about customer service, the response, ask a feedback, whenever you do something, you get a feedback asking you for a feedback. Feedback can be positive or negative, right? So customer service can be either positive or it can be negative. If it is positive, what are the reasons? Why did they say it is positive? Maybe it is timely, meaning that when the customer asks for a query, you immediately solve that problem for them. This is timely. If you observed, when compared to, maybe I'm wrong, I'm talking about my experience, when I had an issue with an item I purchased on Flipkart, or an item that I purchased on Amazon, I always found that Amazon has been quicker in solving my issue when compared to Flipkart. So obviously, I prefer to make more of my purchases on Amazon rather than Flipkart. I hope you're getting it. I'm just talking about my personal experience. I don't say that Flipkart is bad. I'm just talking about my experience. So here, if it is positive, why you find it positive? Because it is timely. Or it could be because the kind of response that I get from the salesperson, the sales support person is nice. Or they've been helpful enough. Maybe the app itself is so helpful to let me know how I can take that step forward. If I have an issue, how do I approach, and I can solve it myself. I need not have to wait and fill in forms and make the procedure so very complicated that I'm unable to from the app I'm unable to find out how do I contact customer care. See that when it is made very easy, then I find it is helpful. So here, see how I have coded it. I have coded it as customer service into positive and negative. Positive could be further divided to timely, nice, and helpful. It's not necessary that you have to use the same thing. This is just a very good example. So I took this image. If it is negative, why? Because they were very, very rude, or they did not fix the issue, or maybe they were not timely at all. They did fix the issue, but they took a very long time. The procedure was so long that you felt every time you have to leave your job and remember and to follow up on that. See, that is not timely. So that is the reason they are negative. So this is how you code in, one issue, you're dividing it into subdivisions and then trying to identify. So this will help you, make decisions better, informed decision. See, I have one more, here, which is telling us how coding can be done. Now, this is for electronic items. Quickly, it is like, electronics could be television or it could be portable electronics. So television could be the tube television. The tube was the one which we had earlier. Okay, that box type. That's a tube television, or the LCD television, or the plasma television. Or if it is a portable electronics, it could be an MP3 player, or under MP3 it could be flash, or it could be a CD player or a two-way radio. Okay, so I hope you got an idea about what coding is. Next is classification of data. How do you classify data? You need to classify it, because that will help you to simplify and come up with proper solutions. So now, for example, say you're taking gender. Gender could be either male or female, that is boys or girls. So if it is boys, then again, whether they are vegetarians or non-vegetarians. And again, in vegetarians, age less than 20 and age above 20, equal or above 20. Again, non-vegetarians, age below 20 and those above 20. When it comes to girls, again, you have equal. That is vegetarians and non-vegetarians, age. You can even go further into education, level of education, postgraduate or an undergraduate. So that way, you can take it like that. So all that comes under classification. This is how you classify, because the more you understand classification, it's not rocket science. You start working on it, you'll find it very, you get totally involved and you enjoy it. So once you classify the data, next you're interpreting the data. See, when you classify data like this, you will get how many are 20 years of age, below 20 years of age, how many are more than 20 years of age, how many are vegetarians, how many non-vegetarians are there. Are there more boys when compared to girls who are non-vegetarians, or are there more number of girls who are vegetarians and who are below 20 years of age, or who are vegetarians and who are above 20 years of age? See, all that you can get to know. This is what we call as interpretation of data. See, now I'm just showing you how you can interpret your data on your project, or on your if you're doing a research paper or something like that, you can mention it like this. So you have a table, research methodology adopted for the study. So interpretation. Okay, so going further, this is just the beginning. So research methodology is descriptive. Sampling methods, I've used probability sampling. Sampling technique is judgment sampling that I've used. And the data collection instruction or the tool is a questionnaire. Sampling size is 384. Type of data is primary and secondary. Primary because I'm collecting data from 384 people, and secondary data because I try to identify the research gap using literature review. So hence, okay, I'm using secondary data as well. And the data analysis tool that I've used is a chi-square test. This is not my study. I'm just giving you an idea of how how you go forward to an interpretation of data. Now, based on what I mentioned here, that is, I have done probability sampling, that is a sampling method. The technique is judgmental sampling. And then I have shared questionnaires to 384 people, meaning I have collected the, after taking out all those which are not answered properly, all that, I have 384 with me, valid questionnaires. So I have the sampling size is 384, and I said primary, and I'm using a chi-square test. So based on that data, 384 respondents, this is what I have understood. This is the analysis. I'll just enlarge this a little bit. See, showing the age distribution of respondents. So out of this 384, you can see here, if you are interpreting, okay, the majority of respondents are in the age group 36 to 45, followed by 25 to 35. So how do I interpret? Majority of them are youth. See, this is how. So that means their mindset is different. You can easily understand when compared to, they are more technology driven, they are less patient. They, I mean, like, their level of patience is a little less. They are youth. They look at things which is trendy. You can make out that way. Whereas followed by people who are between the age group of 46 to 55, and then above 56 years of age. So see how I interpret it. I just didn't say that 35 to 45 is the largest number and keep quiet. What did I say? I said they are youth, they are trendy. So probably if I'm trying to address them, it should be more very, contemporary people, what people like now. I have to look at not what I like. I should look at my age. I should look at people who are younger and who are having, what is their like and dislike. And that way, if I approach them, then my customer service will be good. This is how interpretation is done. Okay. Now, the second one that we see here. Okay. The second one we see chart showing preference factor in purchase decision. So I have certain things mentioned here. What are they? Brand image, quality, information and social media, influence in social media, and content marketing on health journals. So this data gives me information that most of the showing preference factors for purchasing decisions. So the purchasing decisions here is based on quality. This is what we understand. Customers are looking at quality more, followed by influencers and social media. Then they are looking at the brand image. So how do we interpret this? We don't say that majority are preferring quality. It's not wrong. You're right. Quality is what majority out of the 384 respondents, majority feel they are looking at quality first. We understand that. Okay. But how do you interpret it further? You can say that brand image and content marketing are taking a backseat. People are not giving much focus on that. Brand image, it's not that they don't look at it at all, but that is not the preference. When they're buying products, they're not looking at brands now. They're looking at the quality, followed by the responses. So if I'm buying if I'm buying this water bottle, it is Borosil water bottle. On what basis did I buy it? I'm looking at the quality. How do I understand the quality? I'm not an engineer. How do I know what is the gauge? What kind of metal they've used? It is stainless steel or what? No. How do I know about it? I go to the reviews. I go to what influencers are telling me. I listen to what they are saying, and then I understand that majority have put a 5-star to it. Then I feel, okay, see, if 300 people have bought this, then maybe the average says rating is 4 and above. That is what people are buying. This is how I'm interpreting. I'm just not mentioning that it is quality. Did you understand this? Please make a note also. Okay, if you have any questions, don't hesitate, please. So now coming to hypothesis testing. How does this hypothesis, I mentioned there chi-square test. So based on that, I put the chi-square test here. I have taken certain variables like consumer consider brand names, consumer consider quality, the same thing what I mentioned here, and consumer purchase spices based on cultural affinity. And then what I did was I did the chi-square test. A chi-square test, I put it in the proper format. I didn't use the SPSS and all because it will be more confusing, I felt. So I just put this for you all. So I did a regular test using, let us say, on Excel. Okay. And then I get a significant, I get an answer. This is the value that I get, calculated value, that is 35, what you can see here. Now, how do I interpret this? The Pearson's chi-square, see, can you see this? I'll just enlarge this also so that you can read. The Pearson's chi-square statistics is 35 and the p-value is 1.218. That means 7 times the digit is after the point, it is 7 digits. Therefore, you don't have to take all the 7, but I just showed it to you. The significance level is 0.05. That means it can happen correctly 95%, 95 times. If I do the experiment 100 times, that means I collect data from different places. Now I've collected data. This study, let us say it is done in Pune, and this is the answer I get. So if I conduct the same kind of study in Chennai, in Mumbai, in say Hyderabad, I will get 95 times out of 100. If I do it in 100 cities, 95 times I'm going to get the same answer. That's the meaning of level of significance. Okay. So 0.5 times it might differ, but I'm saying that it is 95 times I'm going to get the same answer. That's the meaning of level of significance. I feel so much accurate. Some people do it at 99 points. So it is like 0.1 point. That is 99 times out of 100. If I do this study 99 times, it is going to give me the same answer. One time it might change. That's the meaning of significance level. Okay. We can conclude that the association between the variables is significant. The p-value is less than the significance level. Hence, we reject the null hypothesis. Okay, so this is how you interpret it. The hypothesis testing is done using the statistical analysis. So I told you how this is done. Where is that chart? Yeah, this is the chart where I said when you're collecting the data. After collecting the data, what are you doing? You're processing it, and you're also using a method. The process of the data is editing, coding. It's like, removing all things and putting it in different places, removing what is not required, taking only what is required. I don't want the names. I just want to know yes or no, whether they like HR, marketing, or finance. So this is what I do here. Once I do it, I still want to check and find out whether it is authentic. It is giving me a correct answer. So here what I'm doing a chi-square test. When I do a chi-square test, it could be anything, depending on your test. It could be just a standard deviation, or it could be measures of dispersion and ANOVA, whatever. So now say supposing I'm doing a chi-square test. When I do a chi-square test, I get to know that there is what I observed and what I understand. I observe that majority of them are preferring this, but then is there a correlation between job and this one? So I do a correlation study, and the correlation tells me that there is no link between demand for job and the choice of specialization. So then I understand, okay, if it is not because of the job, there is some other reason. Then I check that out, and I get to know that it is because the subject is simple or something like that. Okay. I'm not saying that the subject is simple. Please don't take it that way. I'm just trying to give an example to understand the concept. Sorry, I think I will. Yeah, this is the hypothesis testing.